And now? Hello? There we go. And now, for something completely different. What I have for you is most definitely a percussive dance, and by most definitions, not a percussive step dance. It involves stepping and clapping and stomping, but it doesn't have the type of manipulations that usually are part of a definition for tap dancing or step dancing or clog dancing. I'd like to start off of the first dances that I'll do with a South African gumboot dance, or just a South African boot dance, which is why I have these boots on. It's also why I left my sweatpants on, because it is a work dance type of dance. And just a quick overview about the boot dance. The boot dance, most recently, is a product of the miners of South Africa. And they use the boots as a functional form of footwear. I imagine it's very wet in on the floors of mines and all that. And the miners did the boot dance as a competitive form of stepping, or
as a competitive form of and they did it in groups. Large groups of miners that represented one mine would compete against other groups of miners from another mine. And because of these competitions, like so many other instances where competition gets involved in music or stepping or whatever, those forms get pushed to pretty great lengths because of the pressure of competition. Whether that pressure is ego, financial reward, other things, status in the community, whatever. But competition usually has the effect of pushing forms. And that's what happened with the boot dance. So some of the sequences get rather long and involved and very rhythmically complex. The miners did not originate the boot dance. The boot dance originally comes from the fishermen and also the sugarcane workers. They were the first people in South Africa to wear boots as functional footwear. They were the first people to get the idea of making rhythms using the boots and movement, slapping and all that. But they were not the ones to turn it into a competition form. So it originated with the sugar workers and the fishermen, then went into the mines, and they turned it into a group competition. The bells are something that's been passed on to me from my teacher, a man named Seppo Makoni. Seppo, as a teenager, was a miner and danced on one of the mining groups. And my steps, or my own arrangement of traditional steps from Seppo. So, a South African boot dance. But first, let me strip this stuff is usually a group presentation, like I mentioned. So this is a chance for audience participation. No, I don't want you to dance with me, but what I'd like you to do is imagine a large number of very big people, but you really have to use your imagination for this. Workers in the mines, manual laborers. There might be upwards of 50 or 60 miners at a time doing these steps in unison. And each group would have a leader who would shout out the step, and then the group would respond. So what I will do is I'll shout out the names of each step to represent this, and then I'll respond just by doing the step myself. If anybody knows it, feel free. Ice yellow, ice yellow, Joe Shalosa, yellow, Joe Shalosa, yellow, Joe Shalosa, yellow. Sit, Matuma Baka. Umagi Daisy Yellow, Umagi Daisy Yellow, Sit Bezu Guake. That's it. It's a social dance, and there's a tune named Le Brandy, and the social dance is called the same thing. And the social dance is like a barn dance, or like a Virginia reel, if you're familiar with what a Virginia reel is. And while you're basically couples, but you face your partner as all guys versus all women. And while you're waiting your turn to do the figures, people would do a set of steps to the rhythm of Le Brandy, which is a 12/8 for all of you musicians out there. If you're familiar with Irish music and the Irish forms of music and dance, this might be called a slip reel, for lack of a better term. It feels like a slip jig, except it's in real time instead of jig time. And this is the footwork that the dancers would do while they're waiting their turn to do the figures. And then I'll follow with just a sequence of steps from the waltz clog tradition. The tempo is the same. Yeah, it needs to be here.
Excuse me. Okay, so, did Peter Brown, is Peter here? Peter, can you raise your hand? You're Peter. Oh, okay. We just met in the toilet, I didn't know who you were, you know? Peter and I have the same common friend that Roy and I have, a gentleman named Tony Barron, who probably is very well known to folks who've been coming here for at least a few years. He came with a group he's been coaching for the past several years, doing the Marley Cloggies, been doing a lot of research. If it were not for Tony, I probably wouldn't be here in front of you today. I lived with Tony back in the early 80s, and I was just a very keen, young, foolish lad on his way to veterinary school. And Tony and I went up to Marlborough, Vermont, and lived with Tony and did a lot of dancing. That's all I did. I was just a dance man back then, unlike now. And Tony basically said, you know, I'm not going to tell you what to do. If somebody ever asks you what you're going to do, you say very reluctantly, I'm going to be a veterinarian. But if they ever talk to you about what you're interested in, you only ever talk about dance. And he just said, dance is a very valid thing. As is picking up the trash, as is being a house painter, as is being a veterinarian. And he said, have a nice life. And that was that. And here I am. And Tony gave me a lot. He gave me a lot of things. And that's probably the most important thing. But the first thing he gave me is he actually tutored me in dancing. And he taught me a bunch of Durham-style hornpipe steps. And Tony's main teacher at that time was Mr. Peter Brown. Yeah. And I think before Peter, there was Johnson Elwood. So what I'm going to do is show you mostly Johnson Elwood steps filtered through Peter Brown, which might have been filtered through his father first, before all I know. I'm looking for some sign of encouragement back with Peter. Yeah, maybe it's a different Peter Brown I'm talking about. You look a little bit shorter than the guy in the video, to tell you the truth. Anyway, and then from Peter it went to Tony, and Tony it went to me. And then I changed everything. But, so I would like to do my tribute to the mother country. And this is a Durham-style hornpipe, if you forgive me. I'd like to finish off. I'm going to finish off with some Appalachian flat footing, which a lot of you have heard me talk about already today. So I'm not going to say anything about that. But it wouldn't be me without rattling on before I do a dance. So I have something else I'd like to talk about. It's more of an announcement. I walked off with my friend's keys, who lives in Kilburn. Is anybody going back towards Northwest 2 that can drop off a pair of keys tonight? You see, he's going to be really, as we say in America, pissed off when not he gets home and expects to find his keys, because he carries his own keys. But you see, he's on tour, and his girlfriend's coming from Ireland, and she can't get into his apartment without those keys. So I'm in a bit of a bind, but you see, Frank's girlfriend is even in a bigger bind. And she's a wonderful woman, and I'm sure somebody here would love to help her out, regardless of how you feel about me. So if there's anybody going back who could possibly either be from Kilburn or pass through Kilburn sometime tonight or early tomorrow morning, please come see me after the show. Oh, my savior, thank you. You're not taking a week's holiday right now, right? I mean, you're going home tonight, maybe, or tomorrow morning? Great. Let me just, could you get that person's face in the video, please? Great. Everybody, look at that person. Yeah, thank you. This is some Appalachian flat footing for you. I guess this might be, I'm not sure whether it'll be in front of the whole group again or not, but the Ready Clog group, congratulations. Happy 19th event. This is really great. I'm happy to be here. And thanks everybody for coming. My students, you guys are doing great too. But please give the Ready Clog group a big thank you for doing this for you.
Thank you. That was Trevor Stewart, our fiddle. Trevor Stewart.